One simple word can describe why The Last of Us Online failed. Greed. Naughty Dog tried to buy it bigger than their mouth could accommodate. I don't blame them for trying though. Games as a service are money printing machines. It makes sense for Sony to want a franchise as recognized as The Last of Us to have their own spin. What Naughty Dog forgot is that before games as a service were even a thing, people already played together. There's no need to get rid of years of a project they don't consider good enough as a service when it could still be good enough as a game. I'm Freddie. This is a writer's perspective on how to save The Last of Us multiplayer. I definitely wanna play it. Sony and Naughty Dog could make it happen, it just depends on how much noise we make about this. They claim it's just too hard to have a service and focus on single player crafting at the same time. Okay then, first thing, it's as simple as it gets. Don't make it a service. Apparently, Bungie told Naughty Dog their game wasn't a good service. Clearly they're not gonna get the service kind of money. This ship has sailed, I mean, they cancelled it. But does it mean they can't get any kind of money at all? And I say money cause investment is what dictates whether a project sees the light of day or not. But in the entertainment industry, first, they have to guarantee entertainment. At this point, we could find ways to blame Fortnite's huge success for destroying the industry's vision for multiplayer games. I'm not this person. Fortnite rocks, and I think all the companies are learning only the wrong lessons from them, Naughty Dog included. There'll be a video about this, so stick to the channel if you don't want to miss this analysis. Why can't The Last of Us Online be a DLC? I'm suggesting a DLC first cause I assume it was cancelled due to not having a good profit projection in the service spectrum. Still, why not having the best from the product they already have and charge $10 or $15 as a The Last of Us Part 2 add-on? In my dreams, it'd be a free update, but at this point, Factions fans from back in the day would gladly pay $15 to play with their homies. They could set up a shop for character skins, including remarkable characters present in any Sony franchise. There are also weapon skins and map packs, you know, things that already existed and made Call of Duty, well, Call of Duty. The Last of Us and no Call of Duty though. COD players could add up to 500 hours of game without even touching the campaign. Naughty Dog knows that and said they don't want to jeopardize making good single player experiences. Then don't. The original The Last of Us had online. Yes, it was raw, but some people were crazy about it up until today. And do I even need to speak for the campaign quality? What about the Uncharted franchise? Didn't they deliver in both fronts? You're telling me Sony and Naughty Dog, one of the most competent game makers there are, can offer a solid multiplayer experience once again? You're telling me they can make it work? For real? Did Bungie just go there and said, hey, your game sucks, and they just call it a day? Wow. I don't understand the fact they can't see how easy it is to design a multiplayer for The Last of Us. It's a universe that begs for it. How can't they figure it out? I'll try to use many examples of game modes they could easily implement to Part 2 and use many games as examples. First, bring back the original The Last of Us multiplayer as it was, with a huge focus on factions so they could effortlessly redesign supply rate and survivors. These were pretty much their team deathmatch approach. Now, bring in more weapons, maps, randomizing the loot and removing the paid advantages people could purchase on the first game, which was a pet peeve of mine. Make it like Counter-Strike, where players have the same amount of money to spend, which encourages an economy strategy, or Halo, where everything players can fight with is found around the map, which encourages players moving here and there. They could bring interrogation back as well, but I think for this mode, they could increase the team's numbers and the first opponent you interrogate reveals in what half of the map their lockbox is. The more you interrogate your enemies, the more this map area would narrow, giving the mode an instant sense of team progress. Next inspiration is from the Gears of War franchise. The Horde mode suits The Last of Us as a glove. They're pretty much adding a survival roguelike mode to their Part 2 remaster anyway. Why isn't it multiplayer? Just like Gears, the enemy waves could get harder as the players progress, giving players tokens to spend between rounds based on their performances. Then, players could use their extra time before the next wave to form barricades and strategize. You can find different takes on the Horde mode in Zombies or Spec Ops from Call of Duty. Even the first Red Dead Redemption had survival co-op in Undead Nightmare called Undead Overrun. Battlefield is famous for its domination mode, and I can totally see this being adapted to The Last of Us. The players would need to hold a position and wait for a supply drop. Opening it would give them exclusive resources in that match. The more drops a team opens, the more points they score. It could also be like King of the Hill from Gears of War, where the longer a team holds the hill, the more points they score. Gears of War 3 also had one of its coolest game modes that for some reason they scrapped from the future entries. I'm talking about the Beast mode. Imagine playing as stalkers, clickers, or bloaters against players. Recent games like Back 4 Blood also could be used as an example. Left 4 Dead of course already had it. Naughty Dog only needed to add their touch to this. Now, why not co-op missions with objectives? They don't need to interfere with the original campaign, and you don't need to be Shakespeare and write emotional dance story beats to that. GTA, Red Dead Redemption, and Call of Duty are excellent in this area. They could return with Bill and Tommy, for example, to provide you with missions, like Bounty does on Red Dead Redemption or Lester and Lamar on GTA Online. If you've seen the leaked main menu from the cancel The Last of Us, you might have noticed they wanted a Battle Royale mode. I can see this working if they tried more like Red Dead Redemption 2 Stake, having fights but prioritizing stealth, rewarding players for their patience. It's pretty much what we do in the main The Last of Us campaign, crouch and attack. It's impossible not to mention Halo in a multiplayer video. I can totally see a capture the flag mode in The Last of Us. The flag could be a care package one of the players could try and steal, slowly dragging it to their own base, only being capable of firing pistols unless dropping the package while their team members provide cover. First to score 3 wins. The first Red Dead had a mode called Hold Your Own, with different capturing dynamics but essentially the same concept. I could go on for days. An oddball mode like in Halo where the ball could be a radio providing information. The player holding the radio can't shoot unless they drop it. The first team to gather all the information wins. An escort mode like in Overwatch where the payload could be a supply truck. A gun game like COD. Search and destroy like COD, where players would need to destroy the other faction's comms or protect theirs, pretty much like bomb diffusion from Counter-Strike. Infection like Halo and COD. Well, do I need to say why Infection would work in The Last of Us? And oh my, what the hell happened to good and old free-for-all? I feel like Sony and Naughty Dog think we don't deserve a multiplayer. I know the situation is not what they wanted, but players have been hungry for that for a long time. Games are getting more and more expensive and absolutely no one wanted the online component to be a standalone. They're overcomplicating something otherwise simple. They're huge companies. Don't say they're not capable because they are. In case you didn't notice, I just want to play The Last of Us with my friends. Now it's your turn. Do you think The Last of Us Online can be saved? Tell me how in the comments down below. And for more things The Last of Us, subscribe. The best places to interact with me are on Twitter and Instagram @SXFreddie. See you next time.